Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show. If you like The Mike Wagner Show and you want to make your own podcast, well, let me tell you about Anchor. First of all, it's free. Secondly, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. You can also add any song from Spotify directly to your episodes. The possibilities are endless. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you. You can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, many more. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention The Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show. It's time to give a shout out to our official sponsor of The Mike Wagner Show, international award-winning author Mian Mohsen Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, then you'll love Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia. Available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. It takes place in 4 countries with 2 strangers and 1 target where truth is an illusion and those you love will be the first to go missing. It's available in paperback and ebook on Amazon. Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia has garnered great reviews and is even loved by Hollywood celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today. Order Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia, now available at Amazon.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international war-ring author Mian Mohsen Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. It takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia has garnered great reviews and even loved and endorsed by Hollywood celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today before it goes missing by Mian Mohsen Zia, available on Amazon. Also, The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on themikewagnershow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, and Apple. Coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn, and heard worldwide on Geo7, Radio Public, Himalaya, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. And for great gift ideas, including t-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, throw pillows, tote bags, and more, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast, and do so today. And for more great gift ideas, including t-shirts, hoodies, tank tops, and some great books by me and Molson Zia, like Missing, Once, and More. Go to Amazon.com and check out the Me and Molson Zia store. Make sure you order today. And don't forget to support the Mike Wagner Show podcast at themikewagnershow.com. You can also support us on Anchor FM/support and PayPal at the Mike Wagner Show. Make sure you do it generously and make sure you do it today. We're here with the very, very wonderfully talented gentleman of Porter Block, who's got a new album out called Clean Up the Living Room. And as you can tell, he cleaned it up just for today, and it's very clean. I mean, it's just so bright. I could have wore some sunglasses here. So, and they debuted with Suburban Sprawl in 06 and received critical acclaim. And this is a New York-based power pop duo which got formed in 05, and new release got written during the COVID pandemic. And also, a gentleman we have right here, have been just diagnosed in 2010 with a syndrome. We'll talk more about that. But live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios, or should we say in the clean living room in beautiful downtown Long Island, the very, very multi-talented Peter Block of Porter Block. Peter, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Mike. It's great to be here.
Well, it's great to have you as well, too, that you basically guys are based in New York. You guys formed in 05, and you debuted with Suburban Sprawl in 06 and received critical acclaim. You also released Solitary Hotel, Pomo A Go-Go, and Off Our Shoulders, and much more. And your newly released album as well, too, was written during the COVID as well. And you were also diagnosed in 2010 with Parsonage Turner syndrome. We'll talk more about that, but we're here to talk about cleaning up the living room. You did a great job. And before we get all that and making it dirty, tell us how I first got started, Peter.
Well, I've been kind of just doing music forever. So, but we sort of put our shingle out, if you will, as you said, in 2005. And so we've been a going concern for 15 or so years now. But I've been making music my whole life, one way or the other, banging on a can here and there. So this is actually our 7th record.
Wow.
Yeah. So we've had a lot to say. But this was an unusual one for obvious reasons. So we're excited to get some feedback on it.
Mm-hmm. And how we're getting feedback on the new album as well, too. It's like, you wrote it at a very critical time and you got some critical reviews. So how big was it?
Well, I mean, we're trying to do this in a time. I actually was thinking about it. It's not bad given what you have to do to promote things these days and going on the road and everything that is involved with promoting a record. So to some extent, I was saying a pandemic for a singer-songwriter who's lazy could be a bonanza. You got a lot of time to sit and work on what you're doing. And then you can kind of get it out there and promote it through Zoom and stay in your bedroom the whole time, or living room, as the case may be. So, but that's just because we're doing it that way this time. We've done it the normal way, but it's a new time for making music. So there's live streaming, and now things are opening up, at least here in the Northeast. So we're trying to book gigs and get back to normal.
Mm-hmm. And of course, getting back to normal as well, too, that when you guys played as well. And what was that one precise moment that simply influenced you into what you're doing today?
I wouldn't say that it's a moment. It took, my mother was a musician. Also Caleb, I'll talk for him. He was playing violin when he was like 2 years old. So, we've always done that. But, the one moment I would say when my sister came home with, the Red album, which is, Beatles 62 to 66. So that was 1973, I believe. And that kind of got me into it. And then I started listening to whatever's going around at that time. Cars, Elvis Costello, Blondie. There's a whole set of records that I got. They were sort of the first records that I bought with my own money. So that's when I got the idea that, that looks pretty good. That looks like a good, fun thing to do. Plus, they call it playing music. So it just made sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Versus work.
And of course, certainly it made sense as well, too. I mean, music was music back then. And besides all the artists you mentioned, like with Beatles, Elvis Costello, Blondie, and all that, who are some of our other favorite artists and musicians growing up?
I have to say I was a Beatlemaniac. And so anything British Invasion, the Kinks, the Stones, but I also love stuff like Harry Nilsson. I love Warren Zevon. I love sort of laid back California, the Eagles, Neil Young. It's sort of really from 60s, 70s is when people tend to listen to and are most influenced by music that they listen to when they're growing up, and then they stop at a certain point. I try to listen to lots of stuff, but you always go back to your original influences. So for me, those are and for that generation, it's like the 50s rockers. So, if Chuck Berry would, I love Chuck Berry too. Was he sort of the grandfather? I was brought up on, like late 60s and then early 70s, even prog rock. Yes. Rush.
Mm-hmm.
Love that stuff.
Mm-hmm. And also don't forget Genesis as well too. I mean, they're just amazing. King Crimson, Styx, and I love
King Crimson, all of their manifestations. I actually saw King Crimson in the 80s when Adrian Belew and Bill Bruford were in the band, and they made Discipline and made another record, I think beat Tony Levin. So it wasn't the Court of the Crimson King Crimson. It was sort of the next generation. And boy, I still love that record. And Robert Fripp is still doing some, I see him doing covers with his wife online. It's quite humorous. They're very good. And Adrian Belew, remember he made it, I don't know if he made those elephant sounds. So that, and they even had he had a song Elephant Talk, but he played with Dire Straits and Talking Heads. Great guitar player.
I think I remember they did something like that too, and I was reading about that, and I think there were comparisons to the old King Crimson and the Court of the Crimson King. You had John Wetton back then, and then you also had the new ones that were making just constant comparisons. But what's still relevant is Robert Fripp still pretty much ran the show, no matter who is in there.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just throw in Dave Grohl or anybody else like that. Robert Fripp still called the shots.
Yeah, no, I love he's also such a considered guitar player. He does those crazy runs, but he's also kind of the maestro of the band, which I always appreciated. Belew, was sort of kind of came out but he had a wonderful voice too. The thing about Robert Fripp is he didn't sing, so he never could kind of front the band. Which wasn't really it's not necessarily a bad thing in a progressive rock band in the early 70s, but that sort of took away from his status. Whereas, some guys like Zappa or other could go up there and do it and sort of command the Fripp. I remember even back in the 80s, he would sit on a stool and play those incredible runs. So he never cared too much for the convention of the kind of the front man of a rock and roll band. But I love King Crimson and Bruford. It was just a great show. And oddly, Stevie Ray Vaughan opened for them. Many people alive from that Stevie Ray Vaughan opening for King Crimson. Yeah. And maybe it was 83, 80, something like that. And people were interested in Stevie Ray, but he didn't get the kind of reception he got, later on. But it was an interesting show. Those kinds of things, putting kind of odd packages of bands together, is going to be fun when it all kicks up again. And you get somebody like at that time Bill Graham or a promoter. Pete Shapiro is one now. Does the Dead, and can maybe put an odd group together like Fish and Justin Bieber, or whatever it is.
Fish
Some
and
sort of
Justin Bieber. I can see that happening. May as well put in
yeah,
Miley in there too between them.
yeah, because I think it's sort of about coming together. And like you were saying, baseball, you can sort of brings everyone together. So if you can get sort of Fish, jam banders being okay with the kind of faux hip hop, and everyone gets together, it's a great way to start, at least trying to get the world back in shape.
Mm-hmm. And of course, I was thinking along the lines of Fish as well, too. Another one who just gets up there and doesn't give a crap is Primus, where they just get up and play whatever it is. And they end the show is like, thank you. We suck.
Well, there's to get up there and do it, it's true. You need a certain amount of body armor. And some people kind of take that, to the nth degree. And then some people, they were saying, Don Henley once said that the Eagles could be accused of loitering on stage. They just kind of got up and did what they did, and that was it. There was no performance or, there wasn't another level to it. It wasn't necessary, and then you get people who are more theatrical. I think there's room for all of it. People, what COVID has done, I think, has made people appreciate live music or live entertainment of any kind. And so whether you're a cabaret singer or, you're in a metal band playing in some festival, you're going to be savored now more than ever, like a fine glass of wine. So that's I'll take that as a positive from all of this. Because even like sort of crappy live bands are going to be taken to heart, because everyone, is like, geez, I've been listening to karaoke for too long.
And I was going to buy a karaoke machine for my family, but it's a good thing I spent $100 somewhere else. That probably would have been collecting dust, or it could have been just like spilled on, kicked, or just like somebody picked it up and just threw it because you suck. It comes to singing.
Well, it takes as I said, it takes a lot of body armor to go up on stage and kind of let it go, which is what, we do. It's, I think in some way, every performer is looking for some sort of approval. Maybe we have personality disorders, there's something wrong with us. We want approval. And so we go up on stage, or we write songs, we make records. And then we sort of reach out for that approval. And, records, I was always a record guy, more than a live guy. I loved listening to the record that was the absolute document of the song. But there is something to be said about this sort of communal experience. And, we've done some touring. We opened up for a jam band called The Samples. Maybe some of your listeners, they were a great kind of reggae jam band. And we were very much kind of singer-songwriter oriented. So there were fans in the audience who were wanting to dance and kind of, move along with exactly the kind of beat that they were playing. But our music had nothing to do with that. And I could see on their faces, they were frustrated with us. They liked what they were hearing, but they kind of wanted to move around. And so, reading your audience, especially when you're opening for somebody. But yeah, you're right. Primus, there are great bands that are just sort of like 1, 2, 3, but Elvis Costello on that infamous SNL, which was probably staged, but he just stopped the band and started another song, and then Lorne Michaels banned him for life. A good attitude can always sell a song. Mm-hmm. I'll admit that.
Mm-hmm. And you talk about Elvis Costello. There was a story I read where that he would have like a wheel up there, like one of those roulettes, or like a wheel of fortune. It's like,
oh yeah, I went to that show.
There you spin. It's like every time they get done with a song, he'll get up and spin. They play a next song, or have one of the band members get up and spin, or he'll ask an audience member come up and spin. And that was a really unique way, instead of having like, doing the same set night after night after night, city after city after city, or whatsoever. It's like it made things a lot different. I think that was a really good idea.
I'll admit to you right now that not only did I see that show, but I took my, at the time, 9-year-old son, who was called up on stage and got to spin the wheel.
Really?
I'll send you a picture. I'll send you the picture to your producer, and you'll see my son there with Elvis Costello. I took the picture because I'm a big fan. So yeah, I got it. He even got to, I remember he was sort of joking around with him. He's a little boy at the time, but he could play. He's a great guitar. He's a musician, my son. But he leaned over his jazz master. Elvis allowed him. He started playing "Waiting for the End of the World," which is off his first record.
Oh my gosh!
And you know, and yeah, it was a great moment. But yeah, that's a great show. And actually, I got to work with Pete Thomas and David Farragher. They are both members of the Imposters, and Pete, of course, was an original member of the Attractions. And on a record that I made about 5 years ago, I got to play with those guys, and it was a lot of fun. And they're both incredible musicians. And I remember my producer, Mike Viola, who's also an amazing and gifted artist, but he was saying, you know, Pete, you're a real fan, so just don't talk too much about Elvis when Pete and Dave come in, you know, like, let's just keep the Elvis stuff toned down. Right. And we got about an hour into it. And then I was like, you know, the first record that I think I ever bought was Armed Forces. And then it just went on from there. And they were both lovely. I got to hear all kinds of fun stories about Elvis on tour. Elvis Costello on tour, not Elvis on tour. And yeah, it was lovely. So there's a lot of connections. He's a literate and a great songwriter. I actually got to see the show that he did with Burt Bacharach to promote that record, Painted from Memory, at Radio City Music Hall. Mm-hmm. That was one of the great concerts I've seen. And the book that he just wrote, it came out a couple of years ago, I thought was fabulous. So I'm a big Elvis fan.
Mm-hmm. And I think I did remember him writing a book as well too, and of course, you know, having such an influence, and of course, you're making a mark yourself too with you know, Clean Up the Living Room, also Suburban Sprawl, Solitary Hotel. We'll talk more about those in just 1 minute, but first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com. It's powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition rate. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Molson Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson Zia has garnered great reviews and evil evidence endorsed by Hollywood celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today before it goes missing by Mia Molson Zia, available on Amazon. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, and Apple. Coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn, and heard worldwide on Geo 7, Radio Public, Himalaya, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. And for great gift ideas, including t-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, throw pillows, tote bags, and more, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And coming soon to the MikeWagnerShow.com. Make sure you buy today. And for more great gift ideas, including pop sockets, hoodies, throw pillows, and more, go to Amazon.com and check out the great books by me and Molson Zia with Missing, Once, and more. Make sure to go to Amazon.com and check out the Me and Molson Zia store and order today. And don't forget to support the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, and also support us on Anchor FM as well as PayPal. Make sure you do it today. We're here with the very multi-talented Peter Block of Porter Block here on the Mike Wagner Show. And you had some albums like Suburban Sprawl, Solitary Hotel, Pueblo, A Go-Go, and more. And, you know, first of all, tell us how you got Porter Block together, and tell us about some of your albums.
Well, we were thrown together in another band called Triposaurus. That's how we met, and probably right at the pre 9/11 period, I'll call it historically. And as it turned out, we both grew up in sort of Upper Manhattan, and had a lot of sort of mutual friends, and so we just got right to it. This is our 7th record, and each one is a kind of different trip. This one was kind of fun. As I said, it was obviously made under very difficult circumstances, and we had to make it somewhat apart. But it could provide a lot of opportunity, and everyone felt sort of languishing in the midst of COVID, and so it gives you a goal, and to a flow to, and that's what I did. Every morning, I'd sort of work on the lyrics as if it was the crossword puzzle. It was that time when things were kind of locked down around here. There wasn't much. I was reading an article in China. People are sort of so flummoxed by the whole idea of doing nothing during the day, that they had what they would call bedtime procrastination, Chinese bedtime procrastination, which I thought would be a great name for a band, Chinese bedtime procrastination. But essentially, people would stay up all night to sort of avenge the fact that they lost the entire day. So this one was, once the flow got going, we started with a song, the first single, I Don't Want to Wait. And I actually drove to Nashville and we recorded that. But the rest of it was done sort of separately. And then once we were vaccinated, we got together and did the final overdubs and mixed it. Made a record with Mike Viola, who made an incredible record, this God Muffin this year. And he's also had a big impact on me and this band. So Caleb and I, it's just the two of us. There are no other musicians or no other collaborators on this. So I did another project called the Gowanus Yacht Club. There's a river that runs through Brooklyn called the Gowanus. It's not really a river. It's more of a environmental hazard site. But that was actually a record where I wrote with 13 different songwriters. And it was a collaboration project. So, they're different. Each record kind of thematically comes together, and the way that we're going to do it, or the production of it, each, has its own kind of specific. We've been doing this now for 15 or so years. So this one just very easily came about. As I said, pandemics are bonanzas for slacker singer-songwriters. So you just have to figure out exactly what we wanted to write about. And that's, so in this record, it opens up with a song kind of about social media. It's called Say Something Nice. Mm-hmm. But that's a trick, because the chorus is really say something nice about me. And that kind of ridiculous thing about affirming yourself through social media, which we have. There was I Don't Want to Wait is a simple song about just that, like this, we were all, it's a waiting, it's this sort of sad procrastination, if you will, for some. I mean, look, it's a deadly thing, but eventually you just get into that feeling that you got to break out, and that's exactly what that song, that kind of tension release of the single is about. We had a song, You Gotta Work, which is I kind of wanted to, it was such a poppy song, I wanted to make it almost like a commercial, like a propaganda. It's like a very, hey, you gotta, and it's, the line is, you gotta work real hard to ever let it bring you down. It's a double negative.
Really?
Like how are we working here? What can I do to improve this situation, which is going nowhere? There's a song, Mind to Control, which is, basically just about data and the way people kind of own each other with information. There's a song called Spiral Down Fashion Doll, which actually just came about. I was reading an article about a factory that had mannequins and that was shut down during COVID. And it was just, there were like hundreds of thousands of mannequins and they didn't know what to do with them. And so the images just sort of came all, as long as there's something specific and interesting that you want to say, then it's pretty easy. You kind of slot in dummy lyrics, you get the melody, you get the idea of what you want to do. And then you go back and replace, your little, sometimes the first thing out of your head can be interesting and good and a keeper. But generally you just, people are always like, what comes first, the words and the music? And I always try to say, there's no music without language or meter or something. So you just stick it on your phone and then you go back later and then you start putting the words in that you really, really thoughtfully want to say. And so this time gave me the opportunity to do that. These 10 songs came pretty quickly, all in a bunch.
And of course, too, that you explained very well about putting the words on the phone and then music on the phone. I think that makes a lot more sense, because if you try the music, add the words in, but then it's like the words may not match with the music. And of course, with the new technology out there, it's like everybody's doing on phones these days too. And social media, you can put a song up on there instantly. And social media, it seems like it made things a lot easier for singers and songwriters than back in the day. Yeah,
I mean, look, it's the more choices that you have, if you have an infinite amount of choices, you'll be paralyzed, so it's a good thing and a bad thing. I use it just as I would never do production, although, actually, I heard there was a song on, I think, the last McCartney record that he started and recorded on an iPhone. And Steve Soderbergh has directed movies on iPhones, and they're all great. But, for me, it's just to get it down, and then you go back later and then properly record it. Actually, what I did in this record, because of COVID, we couldn't be together, I tried to do demos playing the piano and singing simultaneously, so I could, learn the song and really play it, get a good performance of it. And then I would send it to Caleb, and then he put it into Pro Tools and start building it from there, put a tempo on it, kind of cut it up. And then, of course, I'd have to go and re-record everything. But we started the master with that original iPhone recording. So, it can be really helpful. It can also be a pain in the ass, because you have 1,001 ideas and you listen back and you're like, what on earth was I thinking? So it's like a notebook. You look through your notebook for words. Sometimes now I use the voice memo too, but you look for words. You like to have language and ideas available while you're doing these things, so that what you spurt out is at least close, has some sort of language that you've thought about. And as I said, this is not a pandemic record. It's probably more about just, loneliness or being detached. It could be like Taxi Driver. It's the same kind of thing. Somebody is alienated from others because they're alone, and they're, but actually that's what happened to everybody. It was a communal worldwide experience. And so the songs kind of work either way. I didn't want to be too specific. I've gotten in, on the first record, you mentioned Suburban Sprawl. We have a great song on that record called A Blackberry Girl. Oh, wow. And it's about a serial killer. It's a pretty rough little song, but of course it's dated now, right? If I called it just like communication device girl, everything would have been okay, but it's now dated, Blackberry, like, oh, Blackberry, like, oh, those old,
Oh, I remember those things. Yeah, it's like the QWERTY keyboard.
Yeah, no, the original Blackberry, they were a public company. So, but there was no iPhone back then, so it was, when I was on this record, I remember on one song, I wanted to kind of describe whatever the internet, whatever this is, that we live this crazy digital bubble. And I just said the electric divide was the sort of poetic phrase that I came up with. Because if I said the internet, or, live on Twitter or, whatever it is. It gets too, sometimes in songs you can, you can be specific without, putting a brand out there or something which detaches the listener from like the reality you want them to live into the song. So if I had said Microsoft or, something Apple, it just wouldn't have, so I just, something like Electric Divide, people know what you're talking about, they get what you're trying to say. And it's a little more, musical.
So it's pretty much just making sure you don't do the generic and just get more specific. I think that's a pretty good idea. You say Microsoft, people come up with a million things, but Electric Divide, like you said, it's just one thing. It'll stick out in people's minds.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the type of specificity, right? So the detail, it's all in the detail, and the great songwriters always find little things which are so evocative, little details that, that's really the craft, and I mentioned Warren Zevon, because he has a sort of a dark sensibility. A lot of the lyrics that he would write have such a great perspective. They don't, they can go over the top a little bit. But like Werewolves of London, for instance, is almost a campy kind of song, but it's a brilliant, and it evokes so much when and he was so good at bringing kind of a dark sensibility to really kind of upbeat, sometimes, pop songs. And that's like the approach that we often go for, which is to mix the two, and there's nothing wrong with having a negative sentiment delivered in a very palatable kind of pop song. It doesn't always have to be, I'm in love with you. We've done love songs. We've done so many,
and so many. And I'm thinking about this well too, like Lauren Zevon. It's just like, in fact, after listening to it, I'll go have a pina colada at Trader Vic's. It's like, who drinks pina coladas?
Yeah, right.
And what's Trader Vic's? Is it still around? Does it exist? And what is a Trader Vic?
Right. Well, Trader Vic's, of course, was a great Polynesian restaurant chain. There was one in New York. There's one in LA. I'm assuming he was talking about the one in LA. But the idea, it was also a place where people would go and party. I remember when I was a kid, you could go there as a teenager and they'd serve you. They wouldn't card you. It was like Trader Vic's. Yeah, right. And you'd order, what was I forget their big cocktail, but it had like, 18 different types of green alcohol in it. Or the idea was just to get drunk. So
was it a Long Island iced tea?
It wasn't Long Island iced tea. They called it like, a rainbow punch, or I forget what it. I'll remember by the end. But so yeah, he would use something like that. A little bit of even something like Excitable Boy, which is I tried to kind of rewrite in my own way with Blackberry Girl. The thing I was saying is about a horrible serial killer. But it's done in this wonderful, almost childlike fashion. But there's a story about that song that he was playing it probably at some with all the LA glitterati of the early 70s, and Joni Mitchell was in the room and she heard the song, and after he played it, she just sort of gave him a look and was like, yuck. Because of course, there's a lyric in that song about he rapes her and kills her and then builds a cage with her bones. And that's a perfect example of one of his things, building a cage with the bones. That's a pretty specific image, I think it worked, but I understand where she's coming from. That kind of stuff is potentially a triggering thing now. So you gotta choose your words, in the right way. But, he's the guy who would always go for the throat. And that's what I admired about him as a songwriter. But he's just an example. There are a lot of people who do that kind of thing, mixing the two, the two.
You talked about songwriters back in the day going for the throat. And of course, being in such a careful time these days, going to a point of political correctness. Do you see a lot of songwriters out there really going for the throat? Or do you think there's a fear of they might get alienated if they go for the throat?
Right. Well, that's the whole issue today with art. But, I think of all the arts, interestingly, music, uh, I think that people respect the idea that one way or the other, music is what, comes out of you, and so that it truly is free speech in a way, So like for me, I go back to, the Sex Pistols or the Ramones, that was or the Clash,
Mhm.
where it starts to get political even. But that was so energizing and invigorating, and now it doesn't feel that way anymore. It feels like a heavy, wet blanket. Either you get canceled for it or you go over the top and try to sort of troll people, So
Mhm.
I always feel like the best songwriter is somebody who's sort of um, moving in between the cracks of whatever the human quality you're trying to write about. And, uh, can that's something that can be communicated to anybody if done correctly with the right craft, with the right chord sequence, the proper kind of lyrical content, the delivery of it. You can, as I said, with the right attitude, you can sell a song, even to somebody who doesn't want to believe about a werewolf in London, or who's dressed like to the nines, like a dandy, going to Trader Vic's. That wouldn't be but they'll buy it. That suspension of disbelief is there for a good songwriter. Whether you're Townes Van Zandt, or the Eagles, I mean, it's a
Mhm.
big divide between those two, but they're kind of talking about the same things, and the audience goes along with them because they believe the musician. So I think that whole idea of canceling or people not really wanting to speak their mind, that's the one thing about musicians. We're weird. We speak our mind, and they're like, shut up. Half the
Yeah,
people are like, shut
exactly.
up, and then half the people are like, hey, that's what they're supposed to do. They're artists. They're supposed to, So it's I always think as long as it's authentic, then it's valid, and so there's no politics to that. If it's authentic, um, you can authentically deliver a horror story
Mhm.
and not make people offended by that, and deliver it in with beauty. Um, uh, there's a lot of different ways to do, and so yeah, I love James Taylor too. I hold him up equally with Warren Zevon. Um, and they kind of get at the same thing from different angles, but they're both great writers, and they're just using either a piano and a guitar and their voice, um, uh, to get, to get the idea across. So
Mhm.
songwriting, yeah, it's got a lot of nuance to it. And that's why it's kind of a lost art form, because there's not a lot of nuance in, in the world today of broadcasting and art and politics and discourse. So, um, uh, but music, yeah, people seem to tolerate. I remember when I was growing up, my dad would always be, turn that rock and roll down,
I
and
remember
um,
that. Yeah. Or some
right,
people rebel by turn up louder or just to
yeah,
piss them
you
off.
turn it up loud. But if you play Back in Black over like a Ford commercial, it's he's like, yeah, I want to buy that truck. It's the song is so good, and the record delivers so well that you can take it either way. Some stuff, obviously is speed metal or heavy hip hop street, those, but there's, as long as it's authentic, that's why I worry that I don't worry, but I think, hip hop has sort of taken the danger mantle away from rock and roll, because it's kind of authentic. It's more authentic. There's a lot more authenticity in what's coming off the street than what's coming, rock and roll hopefully won't become like jazz, which, gets relegated to sort of old people in clubs.
Or,
It's
or
not
like
it's not the
Faded or
general
whatever
pop.
else. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And of course,
So
you talked about hip hop as well too. That EDM has also been making some headway as well too. They're pretty much on the verge of putting hip
yeah,
hop out of business. EDM, that's been a big thing.
I know, and my son is a big fan. It's I like it. It's simple, and that this last Beck record had some, I think, elements of that in it. And I loved it. The record he made with Pharrell. But I don't want to sound like my dad. My dad. I don't like that kind of music. I don't approve of the lifestyle
What's that
of the
crap?
people. Yeah, those hippies smoking all that weed. And so there's today's equivalent of that. So I just sort of like, in the end, let the kids do, because the kid, they're gonna find out what's authentic. They're gonna sniff that out. That's the one thing about music, and they'll sniff it out. And the one thing that the one, I guess, prejudice that's allowed is ageism. It's music business is still basically for and generated around that younger audience.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you're sort of held up. And so it's interesting to see, like, rappers, like, how are rappers going to deal with being in their 40s and 50s? Like, just as we started to experience the rock and rollers becoming septuagenarians, and Bob Dylan became 80, right? Yesterday,
80 years old, and became a billionaire by selling off his whole record collection.
Right.
Multi-billionaire.
Right.
He doesn't have to work or play another show for the rest
He
of
cashed it in. Well, maybe he'll write a new song about it. Actually, somebody was saying, like, boy, the pandemic was tough. And I was like, for classic rock fans, there was a great Bob Dylan record. There was a great Bruce Springsteen record. There was a great Paul McCartney record. Pretty good pandemic, as far as those things go. So there's still vital rock music made by people who are young and, who are not yacht rock type of
right.
acts.
Exactly. I think, what was it? Soft rock back then. Now it's yacht rock or something. It's like you get on
and
it feels like new music, pina coladas and all that. But then, like, stuff like, say, with Orleans, or say with Firefall, Doobie Brothers and all that. It's just like, what the heck?
Love that Orleans reference. That's nice, man.
What's that?
I love the Orleans reference. That's a good one. Right off of Saturday Night Fever. Look, there's everything is a niche now, right? Everyone's got their own channel, on Sirius. So there's something out there for everyone, but as I said, for what we try to do is never try to sort of get ahead to create something that's not authentic. And so it is what it is. Like, you are what you are, so you can write songs, you can try to kind of flash it up, and you can learn how to do it, but in the end, you got to deliver it. And people can, I think all these shows, The Voice and American Idol, it's kind of turned it all into a game show.
Oh,
but
tell me about it.
The one thing about that's interesting is that, people are becoming more acclimated to just sniffing out an unauthentic performance, and you hear the audience, or whatever. Or whatever it is,
that Gong Show, Bang, or like the Masked Singer, you could tell who's great under the mask or who's lousy under the mask. And I look at it, it's like, really, you all sound the same under that mask, no matter what.
Well, the interesting thing is, if
woodpecker or something like that, or gorilla,
if Bob Dylan or Neil Young went under that mask, I don't think they'd make it through.
No.
But those are their authentic voices. It's but there's a lot of music. But when that first came along, I always felt that one thing it did is it sort of created this thing where singers will try to falsetto or over reverberate their chords. They're trying to do it like an Aretha Franklin overdo on every song, and so all the subtlety is lost.
Almost like a human auto-tune in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's TV is not always, I remember I was reading Jimmy Page used to say, like, they did a couple of Zeppelin did a couple of early TV performances, but you never saw them perform on TV because he just felt like their music just didn't come across. It's hard to get that kind of, I guess Saturday Night Live is the one show, when I was growing up, there used to be Don Kirshner's rock concert.
I remember that.
Gold Gray Whistles, but
Midnight Special.
Even in Midnight Special, but even those, that sometimes if it was a real live performance, it was hard to handle and broadcast. And so that's why the idea of making a record for me is always ideal, because you can really get exactly the sound and the impact that you want, so live, you never know. I remember going to see Bob Dylan. We were talking Dylan, and at the Beacon Theater in New York on a big run. He had like a 14-day run. And for the first 5 songs, they didn't turn on the kick drum mic. Right. And so it was just like, there was no, ain't gone, no Maggie Farm, no, there was no backbeat at all. And, I felt like he was dying up there, I mean, Bob doesn't care, he did a great show the next night, but boy, something like that can really, subvert a good performance. So when you're making a record, you're in control of all those things, so that snare drum's got to really, have that impact every time. Mm-hmm. And having that control, we enjoy. That's why, we've made a lot of records. Touring is something else in live performance, but now after COVID, there's almost more of a reason to play live mm-hmm. than ever before. So
exactly. And of course you also toured with Deep Blue Something, The Samples, Mike Dowdy, and more as well too. And you also continued moving on despite being diagnosed in 2010 with Parson's Turner syndrome as well too. And you just kept going and going and going. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, look, everybody's got something. That brachial neuropathies or Parsonage Turner. The good thing about it is most of the time you get your ability to move your hands and your arms back, but it takes a couple of years. So that was something where, when I say I don't want to wait, I understand about waiting, because it took me about 1.5 years to hold up a glass mm-hmm. and then take a drink.
Wow.
But so that's the kind of thing that, it's a physical limitation that I got eventually through, thankfully, because it wasn't, it's something that, and it can recur, but a lot of musicians have that and kind of play through it. I love those kinds of stories it takes a certain amount of physical strength to emote, and you got to be in good shape to do it. And there's all kinds of stories, a pianist, Leon Fleischer, of course, that famous story, he lost his left hand for a while. There's a lot of good sort of music and medicine stories, and mine is one of them. So, everybody's got something, and it's just something you got to get through.
Mm-hmm. And you continue to do it very well as well, too, Peter. And where can we find all your music at, including your latest Clean Up the Living Room?
Yeah, well, it's coming out July 16th. It'll be available on all your streaming platforms. I can't do it as fast as you. Go to Porter Block Music at Facebook.
I wasn't asking you that you have to do it that fast. It's like, if you
Porter Block Music at Facebook and Porter Block Music at Instagram. And as I said, July 16th, check us out. Clean Up the Living Room.
We certainly do so, and I'm going to clean mine up afterwards as well, too. Oh, it's coming up for Peter Block of Porter Block. We'll find out in just 1 minute. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Also brought to you by our official sponsor of The Mike Wagner Show, international war-ring author Mia Molson's Z of Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. We'll be back with the amazing Peter Block of Porter Block after this time out.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention The Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. You know, it talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamotionzea.com. Missing, available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, Apple, and more. Coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn, where The Mike Wagner Show interviews great guests, cool conversation, lots of laughs, coffee, and more. Take The Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to The Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow The Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today.
Hey, this is Ray Powers. And if there's one thing you can count on in these unpredictable times, it's that you're in good hands getting some great radio, courtesy of The Mike Wagner Show.
We're back with the multi-talented Peter Block of Porter Block here on the Mike Wagner Show. Very in-depth conversation with a wonderful New Yorker as well, too. He's got the new album, Clean Up the Living Room, coming out as well, too. And also talking about Suburban Sprawl, Solitary Hotel, and working and play with Elvis Costello, and a lot more. Just amazing influences. And what can you expect from you in 2021 and beyond, Peter?
Well, we're going to take it one step at a time, but hopefully we'll do this release and get out on the road when things are open, which sounds like it's going to be pretty soon.
It's going to be soon as well, too, and looking forward to it. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
Well, I would say John Lennon and Paul McCartney. That's my 1-2, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Anybody or anybody on the street?
Yeah, in general.
Mm-hmm. You know what? Be kind, say something nice to somebody. And truth is not an illusion. I don't want to get into it with the writer and the sponsor of your show, but truth is not an illusion. Truth is truth. It's still it's an empirical thing that you can actually really prove.
Mm-hmm. and that's a good point as well, too. And of course, we encourage everybody to have opinions as well, too. And we're not going to punish you, especially here on the Mike Wagner Show.
Yeah, there you go.
That's right.
Mike, come on.
I think we need to bring that back one day. It's like, forget all political correctness and just let it all out. So
let it rip.
Yeah, we'll have to do that next time as well, too. Maybe do it on your next show. We're here with Peter Block of Porter Block here on the Mike Wagner Show. Peter, very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Learned a lot from you. Looking forward to having you again soon. Make sure you keep us up to date and keep in touch. And once again, tell us about your upcoming projects, what's your website, and how do people contact you, and where can people purchase or listen to your music?
Thanks, Mike. Just go to Porter Block Music at Facebook, July 16th. Clean Up the Living Room, Porter Block, available on all digital streaming platforms.
We will certainly do so. Once again, Peter, very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Looking forward to having you again soon.
Thanks,
do us
Mike.
a favor, keep us up to date, and love to have you back on. And don't forget to keep in touch, and let's keep the living room clean after cleaning it up.
You got it, man. Thanks, Mike.
Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. It talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamoshenzea.com. Missing, available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.